Gnome blessings, my fellow Gnomians. Before we begin today's episode, I have to just start it again with saying thank you to all of you, to everyone who continues to walk this weird gnome path with me, to many new members who have joined in the recent weeks. It means the world to me to see how much this movement continues to grow and connect with everyone, and seeing your posts and your reflections of what this community means to you. It it's amazing. It really is amazing to see, and I'll never be able to say it enough. So you might get annoyed with me saying it in all these episodes, but I mean it. I really do. So whether you're here for the hats, the humor, or the depth, I'm very happy that you're here with us. So today's episode, it's something that might sound simple, but I really do think it is deep. It's simply just making time for nature. I've been thinking about how easy it is to go days and days without really stepping outside. I mean, sure, we walk through parking lots and cross sidewalks, but maybe we're checking the weather on our way to the car, but how often do we just exist outside? Not to get somewhere, not to do something, but to just be. 10 minutes. 10 minutes is all it can take. Whether it's on your apartment balcony, barefoot in the grass, looking up at the sky, remembering that you're part of something ancient and alive. And I mean, honestly, part of this episode was inspired some recent reflections I've, had many times lately of the importance of just slowing down and connecting with nature, and how often I talk about it, but I don't really do it. I let myself get wrapped up in waking up, trying to get Church of Gnome stuff caught up with orders and emails, and then I go to work, and then I come home and I take care of the kids, and then I go back to work trying to get this going, and juggling everything life throws at me, and it's easy to forget to practice what I preach. But you know what? No matter how busy we are, there is always time to step outside. Not as a chore, not as just one more thing to do on the to do list, but as a moment of care for your body, your mind, your spirit, the world around you. Because even 10 minutes of stillness under the sky, it can bring you so much clarity, it can bring you breath, it can bring you back to yourself. So today, we're going to be talking about how to make space for that, not just in theory, but in real, gentle, grounded ways. And so, before we dive in, got to just remind everyone that Gnome Talk Podcast is available on all podcast platforms, so feel free to listen wherever is easiest for you. And if you do want to support the Church of Gnome, plenty of epic merch up on the website, and I'm working on getting some more up there, hopefully in the next couple weeks. So churchofgnome.org. Join us. We're not a cult. Okay, so now let's step outside, metaphorically for now, and maybe literally by the time the episode ends. So the disconnection that we don't notice. It's a hard thing to say in a community like ours where, we talk about earth stewardship, living like gnomes, being grounded and spiritually connected. But a lot of us, if we're being honest with ourselves and with each other, many of us are kind of living in an unintentional disconnection. Not because we're bad people or because we don't care, but it's just modern life happens. And it can be subtle. We wake up, check our phone, do some of that doom scrolling. Maybe we commute, maybe we work from home, maybe we're just, taking care of others before we take care of ourselves. And suddenly, it's evening. We've been inside all day. We've moved from screen to screen, from task to task. Maybe we went outside, but only to get to the next place and not to really be there. That's the kind of disconnection that I'm talking about here. The kind that sometimes you don't really notice because it feels so normal. That is the world that we live in right now, where, nature has been made to feel optional. And sometimes when something is optional, it can kind of quietly become absent. And yet, our own nervous systems were built with the assumption that we're going to be walking through the forest, feeling the wind on our skin, hearing the birds, the flowing water, the crunch of the earth beneath our feet. These aren't luxuries, they're biological needs that we all have. And spiritually, nature is more than just a setting, it's a relationship. So in Nomian tradition, we speak of the principle of harmony with nature, not just as an environmental ethic, but it's a daily practice. Harmony doesn't happen through grand gestures alone. It happens in, 10 quiet minutes you give yourself to sit outside and just listen. Happens when you breathe, when you just take a pause to look at the sky. It happens in the moment you let your feet touch the ground and you remember that the ground is alive. We often talking about, grounding like it's a metaphor, but it's not. It's literal, it's practical, and it's healing. But first, we have to notice where we've become ungrounded. And I got to be the first to admit that there are weeks where I've spent way more time planning and trying to do stuff for the church at Gnome than I do actually, living by the own words of what I've written. And so I have my days of going, screen to screen, place to place, thinking about the things I should be doing, and then, never actually making the time to step outside and just be. And I think most of us have probably been there. But, we don't have to let it stay that way. There's a way back. It's not that complicated, and it's not one more thing to add to your to-do list. It's just 10 minutes of remembering that the world is still beautiful, that your body still belongs to it, and that the air wants you to breathe it deeply. So, this episode, not just talking about why nature matters, I'm going to be talking about how to reclaim it, even in the middle of a chaotic life. We're going to remember that the earth hasn't forgotten us. We just have to go outside and say hello to it, and maybe stand there long enough to hear it say hello back. So, the power of 10 minutes. Let's make it simple. 10 minutes. It's all it can take to begin shifting your relationship with the natural world and with yourself. We often imagine that, to reconnect with nature means that you have to plan a weekend hike, visit a national park, book a retreat to the mountains, and those are all great and beautiful things, but they're not required. What's required is just presence. And 10 minutes can be enough. 10 minutes to step outside into your backyard, your balcony, stand by a tree out on your block or in the park, and just breathe. Let the sun touch your face. If it's not sunny, let the wind touch your face. 10 minutes to, maybe get wild. Take your shoes off and put your feet in the grass. Not for a ritual or for a photo, but just for remembering. That's the kind of remembering that doesn't come with a checklist. It doesn't need incense or affirmations. It just needs silence, stillness, and willingness. Because something happens in those moments. The static in your mind begins to settle, the weight in your chest can begin to loosen, your senses return, your shoulders lower, you feel here. And that's subtle, yet sacred. In those 10 minutes, you may not get some grand revelation, but you will experience something ancient. The breeze that moves through the trees, it's moved there for generations. The soil beneath your feet has held the footsteps of everyone who came before you, and it will hold the roots of everything that comes after. And that's not like a romanticization, that's reality. And when you take time to notice it, you shift. You begin to feel part of something again, not separate, not spinning, but here. And, 10 minutes really isn't asking for much. You've spent longer staring at your phone, scrolling without actually remembering what you saw. You spent longer rehashing a conversation that's already ended, or maybe even longer waiting in line for coffee. 10 minutes outside is not a burden, it's an offering, and it gives more than it takes. So it doesn't have to be dramatic. Maybe it's a slow walk through a patch of trees. Maybe it's sitting on a step and noticing the clouds. Maybe it's just leaning against a wall and looking up at the night sky and remembering that the stars are still there. And if your body resists it at first, that's okay. You've been trained to fill every moment with something. It may take a while to feel safe in the stillness again, but I promise it is worth it. This is what we can call in Gnomian spirituality the sacred ordinary, the simple, profound moments when you reconnect with what's been waiting all along. And when you return to the rest of your day, your work, your worries, your responsibilities, maybe you'll be carrying something different. A little bit more steadiness, a little more clarity, a little bit more room in your chest to breathe. And it all can start with just 10 minutes. So, I know we all experience, the guilt, the hustle, and the myth of not enough time. And that is one of the most convincing lies that many of us tell ourselves is that I don't have time. It's a phrase that slips through our mouths without a thought. It's a mantra we repeat, half in jest, sometimes half in shame. But when it comes to connecting with nature, even for 10 minutes, we say it, it's like a law of the universe. And yet, when we really look at it, is it true? This is something I've been sitting with myself lately, reflecting on the disconnect between what I believe and what I actually do. Because I say all the time how important it is to get outside, to ground, to breathe with the trees. But like I said, I have so many days where I wake up immediately and get to work on all this stuff, then go off to my day job, bring my son to soccer, get back to work on all this stuff, and then repeat and repeat. And, I keep telling myself I need to slow down, take a walk, sit in the yard, but then something else pops up, another deadline or another opportunity or idea that, involves being productive. And then all of a sudden, it's like a week passes, and I've spent more time on screens than the sky. And I'm sure that probably sounds familiar to a lot of you. And, it's not about having a confession, it's about recognizing. Because if we don't name the patterns that we have, we can stay stuck in them. So we can keep telling ourselves that nature is a nice idea, that, we're going to get to it when the schedule clears up, when the inbox is empty, when the chaos settles. But there's always going to be something and another message to answer, another bill to pay, another responsibility pulling out our time and energy. So if we don't choose nature consciously, intentionally, then it's going to slip away. And, we can feel guilty when we step away from all these responsibilities, but it's 10 minutes. Give yourself that. We feel like we should be doing something useful instead of resting, breathing, grounding. But that guilt, that's not wisdom, that's programming. And it's programming that we can rewrite because going outside, touching the earth, looking at the sky, this isn't extra, it's essential. It's what your body was designed for, and it's what your spirit craves. Gnomian spirituality doesn't ask us to escape the world, it invites us to participate in it more fully, not just through effort and action, but through connection, through stillness, through the kind of joy and presence that doesn't come from checking something off a list, but from remembering what life actually feels like. And that's the shift that I need to be working on. Instead of seeing time and nature as one more thing to fit in, I need to start seeing it as something that lets me do everything else better. It's not a distraction, it's a foundation. And, when I come back to the laptop like right now, or the schedule, or the noise, it can feel lighter if I've spent that time outside. So if you've been telling yourself you don't have time, What would really happen if you just took that extra 10 minutes? Would the world fall apart, or would something in you start coming back together? So, there's a reason why gnomes are always close to the ground. In their stories and symbols and the statues that quietly watch over the gardens, gnomes are reminders of something most of the world has forgotten, that the earth is not just something we live on, it's something we live with. Gnomes are caretakers, not of empires, not of schedules, not of metrics, but of soil, moss, root systems beneath old stones. They're beings of presence, observation, quiet contribution. Whether you see them as real or symbolic, that kind of wisdom can speak the same truth. The earth heals, but only if we slow down enough to feel it. So that's the Nomian call to reconnect. Not because you should, not because it's on your spiritual to do list, but because it's time. Because there's something sacred waiting for you beneath the noise and it's not far away. It's literally just outside your door. You don't have to go off grid. You don't have to turn your life upside down. You just have to step outside and give yourself permission to exist in the natural world without needing to accomplish something. You're not required to hike 10 miles. You're not required to feel something profound every time, just to show up. Let the sun or rain or wind greet you. Let the tree be what it is. Let the breath be what it is. Because when you reconnect with nature, you're not just connecting with the world, you're reconnecting with your own rhythm. The one that was there before stress, before guilt, before the world convinced you that urgency is the same thing as meaning. And if the word spirituality has ever felt distant to you, take off your shoes, stand in the grass, close your eyes, breathe. That's it. Not a mantra, no rules, just a return. And what you'll find after enough returns is that the line between nature and self starts to dissolve. You realize that when you touch the earth, something inside you softens, like a knot that finally unwinds. You remember what it feels like to be of the world, not just on top of it. The gnomes know this. That's why they don't hurry. That's why they keep their homes nestled in roots and stones. They're not hiding, they're harmonizing. So if you've been feeling ungrounded, disconnected, too busy to catch your breath, this is your reminder that the ground is still there, waiting quietly, ready to welcome you back. And if all you can offer is 10 minutes, that's enough. 10 minutes of sky, 10 minutes of stillness, 10 minutes of remembering what being feels like. So let this be your Nomian practice, a quiet, stubborn rebellion against the myth that disconnection is normal. You don't need to do anything grand to reconnect. You just need to stop long enough to listen. So, if you take one thing from this episode, let it be this. You are allowed to step outside, not to go somewhere, not to perform wellness, but simply to be, even for 10 minutes. We are not separate from nature. We just get a little bit louder when we forget. And the world, it misses you. The wind wants to brush past your shoulders. The trees want to show you how stillness can be strength. And the sky wants to remind you that you are part of the infinite of all. You're not behind on anything. You're right on time for your next breath, for your next 10 minutes, for your return. And if the day slips by again, as days sometimes do, and you forget or you don't make that time, don't turn it into shame. Just begin again tomorrow or tonight. Step outside, stand in the dark, let the cool air on the skin remind you that you're part of a living earth. That's the Nomian path. It's not perfect, it's not polished, it's present. So here's your invitation to step outside, breathe, feel, come back home to the ground beneath your feet. And you can let 10 minutes be enough. Let it be medicine. Let it be your practice. Let it be your offering. So, gnome blessings, my friends. Oh, almost forgot to do the gnome hat. There we go. Gnome blessings, my friends. And until next time, may you walk slow, listen deep, and live like gnomes.